Hello, this is Stuart Ray with part 2 of the Prosthetic Sculpting Basics tutorials. This time we're looking at how you refine the surface of your sculpture, having already looked at how we were doing the initial block out and how we actually get the original form or shape. Now we're looking at actually how we can refine the surface now to get a much more sort of pleasing surface on the outside, and just try and smooth it out without taking away the form. That's the most important thing. One of the best tools for this is a really cheap plastic brush that you can get from a hardware store. And if you just drag that across the surface gently, I tend to go one direction and then across the other way. So you sort of cross-hatch the surface with little tool marks, and basically you sort of scratch away gently at the surface. And it takes off the kind of tool marks gradually over a period of time. You just keep doing it, keep stroking it across. And you'll find it sort of reduces the form slightly, but without destroying it, so you keep the shape. The other tool that's quite good is this homemade little rake that I made out of some piano wire, and basically that's sort of set into a handle, and it just means that you can drag this tool across very much the same way as the brush, but it just means you get a slightly more sort of coarse effect, so you get slightly deeper grooves, but again it doesn't destroy the surface, so you retain your original form, which is very important. So you're only sort of refining it. It's almost like sanding it, but over a three-dimensional shape. So you're not making it flat, you're just kind of reducing it and bringing it all together, so it kind of sort of looks like it belongs, like it's one continuous shape rather than a series of blobs that you've put together, which is exactly what it is. And obviously you can go over the surface of that with the brush, and you see that's quite a nice natural looking sort of finish. I noticed that this was looking a little flat, so I thought I'd punch up the brow just a little bit. Again, I start with the little sausages of clay just to kind of place them where I want them, very roughly, blending the edges out with my fingers. And then just a wooden tool, just a simple wooden tool to kind of stroke those edges out. And that's basically how I sculpt a lot of things. I sort of put a blob in roughly the right place, blend those edges out, and then just keep adding blobs, just keep building them up and blending them out. And then when you refine the surface, you sort of end up with a new shape that is a unified shape rather than looking like a series of blobs, which is how it's constructed. But obviously that's not evident in the final thing, which is the whole point. But these wooden tools are great because you can do most of the work with this. You can just kind of take the edges, blend them out like this, and then you just end up with a much more sort of natural looking shape. And I just wanted to do this, like I say, because it was looking quite flat. Even though there are wrinkles in here, the actual general form of this brow was looking a little bit sort of uninteresting. So I just wanted to give it a bit more kind of a bit more of a feel. And this tool, again, this little loop tool, this is quite handy for just taking the edges out. I could have carried on with the wooden tool and done the same thing, but I kind of fancied using this and just sort of showing you how you could also use this tool to kind of, again, rake the surface gently, leaving these very small tool marks, and again hit that with the rake just to kind of blend that all in. And once you're kind of happy with that, you can go in again with your plastic brush. And that's basically what a lot of the sculpting is. It's just kind of refining and knocking things back and reducing them. Sometimes it's easier to make things a little too bold and then reduce them rather than try and sculpt them perfectly in one hit. That's the way I do a lot of things. I kind of do them a little bit too far, and then I can kind of carve them back and sand them back and reduce them gradually without having too much at once. But again, these little loop tools, they do the same kind of thing where they take a little bit out, but rather than taking a huge deep scoop out, they actually sort of take a gradual bit at a time, and by reducing the pressure as well, so the less you sort of press on it, the finer the tool marks you are, so you can gradually work towards a smooth finish with fewer and fewer tool marks. Under the eyebrow is a little messy, and I wanted to sort that out because even though you don't really see that because it's tucked under the sort of the bulge, it's still very important that you make it sort of quite neat. And the way to do that is to obviously add whatever you need to, take whatever you need to away, so that you end up with a nice sort of pleasing finish, and it's quite neat and returns up to the edge of the skin properly. And once I'd done that, I just wanted to kind of smooth this top edge out again using the tools like the brush and the rake. And the nice thing about the brush and the rake is that you can use them quite quickly. Even though I have speeded some of this up, you get the idea. You can actually sort of do a very large area reasonably quickly, again without damaging your sort of form, and you can get a sort of a nice smoothish finish, which is quite nice to do. And even on gentle areas like this under the eye, you can see it's quite a subtle form, but using this rake and then the brush, I haven't lost the original shapes. They're still there, I've just refined them. So they're very, very good for that kind of thing. Don't feel they're actually going to, ruin everything. You can be quite brutal with these things, and that's the thing to do with plastiline, is kind of bully it into shape, because it doesn't sort of give you anything. You have to kind of make it do what you want it to do, and it's quite resilient. So you can use a lot more pressure than you would think. This eye was a little messy, so I just had to go in there with a tool and just clean it up. But again, you can see I'm kind of swooshing through this, just carving in my grooves, knocking the edges off those tool marks just to round those off, and then go straight in with the rake to kind of knock those back. And again, after you've sort of raked them, you can go in with the brush just to kind of smooth those off. And once you've done the brush thing, you'll find actually just that a soft dragging of the thumb over the surface of this will probably get you almost there with a smooth finish ready for texturing, because now that it's that sort of sanded back with the brush, you're actually not moving that much material anymore. Each step you're sort of moving less and less material, so you're refining it gradually more and more. And then we'll finally get to this point where I'm just going to use a little lighter fluid, which is naphtha. It's the stuff you get in Zippo lighters. And basically you use a little of this on cotton wool. I'm using a glove, by the way, to protect my skin on the hand. I recommend you do that just to stop your sort of skin from touching this stuff. It's not good to do that. And wipe over the edge, and basically I'm not taking into the sculpt, I'm just taking off all the really thin stuff that's not actually adding anything three-dimensionally to the form. Just so you've got a very definite point at which the sculpture stops, but you still got that blended edge. And there we go, that's kind of it. Ready now for the next stage in video 3, which will be texturing. Thanks for watching. To get your free mini e-course, sign up now at my site learnprostheticmakeup.com.